And we're live.
All right. Thank you very much. Given that we have quorum, I'm going to call this meeting of the Cavan Monaghan Committee of Adjustment to order for Friday, April 16th, 2021. First of all, do any of the members have any pecuniary interest to disclose today?
No, none.
Okay, none indicated. We move on to the next item, which is number 3 on the agenda, the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held October 22, 2020. Any questions or concerns or corrections regarding those minutes from the members?
None.
Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to accept those minutes. Dave, and a seconder. Aaron?
Second that.
And all in favor? Passed. All right. Now we move on to the first application before us this morning. Report planning 2021-13 from Leonard and Tapp for a minor variance, MV 0121.
Good morning. Thank you, committee members, and those of you joining us on our online public meeting. Can everyone see the application being shared on the screen?
Yep.
Yeah, excellent.
Yep.
So this is the public meeting for minor variance application MV-01-21, and the committee has before them planning report number 2021-13. The application applies to lands located at 20 Center Street, as shown on attachment number 1 to this report. The property has approximately 66 feet of frontage on Center Street and a depth of approximately 230 feet and a total lot area of 0.348 acres. The application was applied for by Brenda Tapp and Mike Leonard and was received by the township on March 23rd, 2001. The subject property is an existing lot of record developed with a single detached dwelling, as shown on attachment number 3 to this report. The owners of the property wish to construct a 540 square foot detached garage to the west of the existing dwelling. The property is zoned urban residential 1, which permits a single detached dwelling and accessory structures. The zoning bylaw requires a minimum side yard setback of 2 meters or 6.56 feet for a detached accessory structure. As proposed, the detached garage will be located too close to the west side lot line to comply with the minimum side yard requirement. As shown on attachment number 2 to this report, the variance is required to reduce the minimum western side yard requirement for a detached accessory structure in the urban residential 1 zone as it applies to the subject property from 2 meters or 6.56 feet to 0.762 meters or 2.49 feet. All other standard regulations of the urban residential 1 zone will apply to the subject property. Notice of the application was circulated by first-class prepaid mail to all assessed persons within 60 meters of the subject lands, to all required ministries and agencies, and to all township department directors. A sign was posted on the subject property on the Center Street frontage, and the notice of public meeting was posted on the township website. The notice complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. To date, the planning department received 1 verbal comment from the owner of 22 Center Street, who's this location. The owner indicated that they have no problems or concerns and requested to be provided with the notice of decision. Township staff had no objections to the application. The Otonabee Region Conservation Authority did not have any concerns with the proposed variance, stating that the application is consistent with Section 3.1 of the Provincial Policy Statement referencing natural hazards and Sections 2.1 and 2.2 of the PPS referencing natural heritage and water. Orca indicated that permits will not be required from their agency for the proposed development, and the subject property is not within an area that is subject to the policies contained in the Trent Source Protection Plan. As presented to you today, Planning Report 2021-13 provides an analysis of the proposal and concludes the application satisfies Section 45 of the Planning Act, which outlines the 4 tests the application must have regard to in order for the committee to authorize a minor variance from the provisions of the bylaw. Report 2021-13 recommends that the committee approve application MV-01-21 with no conditions. With that, I will turn the application back to you, Chairman Semple, for any questions from the committee and the public.
Thank you, Christina. Are there any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Christine, you said that the people at 22 said they had no objection. It's the one to the west?
That's correct.
Okay.
Do you know how?
They're the only ones that are affected, so I don't have any questions.
My only question is what is the distance between the neighboring house and the garage that's proposed? Do you know that?
I can just take a peek. I don't know that we have their setback distance from their lot line, but I can take a peek.
Because they look pretty close to the line as well.
Yeah, they are. But it looks like from the drawing that the garage is going to be to the north of the edge of their house.
Yes, that's correct. So if you on the air photo, it's the garage is starting right about almost the rear of the house at 22 Center Street. We did a site visit and it will not impact any of the windows along that eastern side of 22 Center Street. In fact, the owner of 22 Center Street on the phone said to me that they appreciate where it's being located as it will provide some additional privacy in their backyard.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Anyone else have any other questions arising from that?
No.
All right. Is there any members of the public participating this morning? Do we know?
Through you, Chairman, there are members of the public participating, and if anyone would like to participate or speak, if they raise their hand, I can promote them to participate.
All right, so I'll open it up to questions from the public, if any. It appears that no one else has any questions or comments. Given that the planning department has recommended approving this application with no conditions, I would ask for a motion.
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the minor variance with no conditions.
Aaron, I need a second. David,
Well,
all in favor?
Yep.
Passed. All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to the second item of business this morning. Report number 2021-14 for the variance application MV-0221 from Ed Earl.
Thank
Christina?
you, committee members, and those of you joining us on our online public meeting. This is the public meeting for minor variance application MV-02-21, and the committee has before them planning report number 2021-14. I'll switch to the map. The application applies to lands located at 1498 Tapley Quarter Line as shown on attachment number 1 to this report. The property has approximately 150 feet of frontage on Tapley Quarter Line, has a depth of approximately 200 feet, and a total lot area of 0.69 acres. The application was applied for by Ed Earl and was received by the township on March 10th, 2021. The subject property is an existing lot of record developed with a single detached dwelling, detached garage, and outdoor pool. as shown on attachment number 2 to this report. The owners of the property wish to construct a 300 square foot living room addition at the front of the existing dwelling on the north side. The owners are also proposing to construct a 150 square foot sun deck across the remainder of the front of the house. I'm just going to resize this. A site plan showing the location and size of the proposed addition and sun deck is provided as attachment number 3 to the report. And elevation plans for the addition are provided as attachment number 4. The property is zoned rural residential, which permits a single detached dwelling. In the rural residential zone, the township zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard of 6 meters or 19.69 feet. The proposed sun deck will comply with the rural residential zone provisions. However, the living room addition will be located too close to the northern side lot line to comply with the minimum side yard requirement. The variance is required to reduce the minimum northern side yard requirement in the rural residential zone as it applies to the subject property from 6 meters or 19.69 feet to 5.1 meters or 16.7 feet. Notice of the application was circulated by first-class prepaid mail to all assessed persons within 60 meters of the subject lands, to all required ministries and agencies, and to all township department directors. Signs were posted on the subject property on the Tapley Quarterline frontage, and the notice of public meeting was posted on the township website. The notice complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. To date, the Planning Department has not received any written or verbal comments about the proposed variance from members of the public. Township staff had no objections to the application. Comments from the Peterborough Public Health Unit were not received as of the writing of this report. However, in correspondence dated April 9th, 2021, Peterborough Public Health indicated they have no objection to the application, provided the owner applies and is approved for an existing sewage system permit prior to the issuance of a building permit. Therefore, staff recommends that the committee approve the application with the addition of this condition. Otonabee Region Conservation Authority commented that the application is consistent with section 3.1 of the provincial policy statement, referencing natural hazards. The development is located beyond 120 meters of a key hydrological feature and outside of any natural heritage feature and its associated buffer. And therefore, ORCA indicated that they are satisfied that the proposed development is also consistent with sections 2.1 and 2.2 of the provincial policy statement, referencing natural heritage and water, and section 4.2.3 and 4.2.4 of the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, referencing key hydrologic features, key hydrologic areas, and key natural heritage features and their adjacent lands. ORCA indicated that permits will not be required from their agency for the proposed development, and that the property is not within an area that is subject to the policies contained in the Trent Source Protection Plan. As presented to you today, Planning Report 2021-14 provides an analysis of the proposal and concludes the application satisfies section 45 of the Planning Act, which outlines the 4 tests the application must have regard to in order for the committee to authorize a minor variance from the provisions of the bylaw. While Report 2021-14 recommends that the committee approve application MV-02-21 with no conditions, staff suggests that the recommendation be revised to include the health unit comments and should read or could read that the committee approve application MV-02-21 with the following condition: that the owner applies and is approved for an existing sewage system permit prior to the issuance of a building permit if required. I believe the applicant is in attendance today, and with that, I will turn the application back to you, Chairman Semple, for any questions from the committee and the public.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the members of the committee on this application?
I just had a quick question. It does seem, Christina, like it's mainly just because of the house being on a bit of an angle that doesn't comply with the existing bylaw. Is that right? Where if the house looks as though if the house weren't on an angle, it probably would comply with the setback requirements?
That's exactly correct. Yeah, if this house wasn't on an angle and if it was facing directly towards the front of the lot line, I think there would, yes, there would definitely be compliance with the bylaw.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
None from me.
My only question was, what was the concern of the public health unit with respect to the sewage system? I assume there is one already. Why would they have to apply for another permit?
So that's correct. They don't have a concern. This is a standard health unit comment for any lands that are in the rural area on a septic system. They just, when a building is adding livable space, they want to make sure that the existing system can handle the addition of livable space, and also that they know where the system is and that the addition is not going to be located too close to the septic system.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
No.
I'll ask for any questions or comments from members of the public who are participating this morning. Appears there are none. I would ask for a motion then to approve this, presumably with the condition from the public health unit added to it, as Ms. Coulter has requested as well. Anyone want to make that motion? Aaron?
I'll make that motion to approve with the condition of the sewage permit.
Second? David, and all in favor?
Yep.
The application is passed. Approved. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the third and final application, Planning Report 2021-15 for a minor variance application MV0321 from Beltry and Son Limited. I'll set over to Christina.
Thank you, committee members, and those of you joining us for our online public meeting. This is the public meeting for minor variance application MV-03-21, and the committee has before them planning report number 2021-15. The subject property is described as Part Lot 13, Concession 5 of the Cavan Ward. The property is located in the Millbrook Urban Settlement Area east of Nina Court and is a vacant parcel of land that has been approved for a 32 residential unit plan of subdivision, being Peterborough County File 15T-16001 as depicted on attachment number 3 to this report. The property will be accessed by a new municipal street known as Coldbrook Drive. And according to assessment information, the entire property has a total lot area of approximately 4 hectares or 10 acres. The lands subject to this application are identified as lots 1 to 3 and blocks 16 to 18 and blocks 21 to 23 of the draft approved plan. I'm just going to pull that plan up. While the plan of subdivision has received final approval and planning report number 2021-15 makes reference to Plan 45M259, I just wanted to make it clear to the committee that as of the writing of this report, a copy of the registered plan had not been received by township staff. And so as a result, the report is referencing the lots and blocks as shown on the draft approved plan. The application was applied for by DG Biddle and Associates Limited on behalf of Veltri and Son Limited and was received by the township on March 29th, 2021. The owners of the property wish to construct a total of 12 units in the form of linked semi-detached dwellings on the 6 parcels. Lots 1 to 3, blocks 16 to 18, and blocks 21 to 23 are zoned urban residential 2, exception 3. Linked semi-detached dwellings are permitted in this zone. The zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot area of 280 square meters per each dwelling unit. The applicants have requested a reduction in the minimum lot area requirement to 240 square meters per each dwelling unit. As noted in the DG Biddle and Associates Planning Justification Report submitted in support of this application and provided as attachment number 1 to this report, Cavan Monaghan Council approved bylaw number 2019-43 to allow for the proposed residential uses on the subject lands. According to the Biddle planning rationale, bylaw number 2019-43 allowed for a minimum lot area of 280 square meters for each dwelling unit and sought to allow for a floating lot line between pairs of linked semi-detached dwellings so that one of the two linked semi-detached dwellings may be wider than the other. Each pair of linked semi-detached dwellings will have a minimum combined lot frontage of 18 meters. However, one of the pair of the dwellings could have a minimum lot frontage of 8 meters, and the adjoining dwelling could have a lot frontage of 10 meters. Inadvertently, the lot frontage reduction for dwellings with a reduced lot frontage of 8 meters was not translated to a corresponding minimum lot area requirement. As such, the owner is seeking a variance to allow for a reduced lot area for one linked semi-detached lot per pair of two linked semi-detached lots. The variance is required to reduce the minimum lot area requirement in the urban residential 2 exception 3 zone as it applies to lots 1 to 3, blocks 16 to 18, and blocks 21 to 23 as shown on the draft approved plan, from 280 square meters per each dwelling unit to 240 square meters per each dwelling unit. All other standard regulations of the urban residential 2 exception 3 zone will apply to the subject lands. Notice of the application was circulated by first-class prepaid mail to all assessed persons within 60 meters of the subject lands, to all required ministries and agencies, and to all township department directors. A sign was posted on the subject property, and the notice of public meeting was posted on the township website. The notice complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. To date, the Planning Department has received 1 telephone call regarding the details of the application and no written comments about or objections to the variance. Township staff discussed the application details with the caller and no further concerns were identified. Township staff had no objections to the application. The Otonabee Region Conservation Authority did not have any concerns with the proposed variance, stating that the application is consistent with Section 3.1 of the Provincial Policy Statement, referencing natural hazards, and Sections 2.1 and 2.2 of the PPS, referencing natural heritage and water. Orca indicated that permits will not be required from their agency for the proposed development, and the subject property is not within an area that is subject to the policies contained in the Trent Source Protection Plan. As presented to you today, Planning Report 2021-15 provides an analysis of the proposal and concludes the application satisfies Section 45 of the Planning Act, which outlines the 4 tests the application must have regard to in order for the committee to authorize a minor variance from the provisions of the bylaw. Report 2021-15 recommends that the committee approve application MV03-21 with no conditions. I believe the applicant, Michael Fry from DG Biddle, is in attendance today. And with that, I will turn the application back to you, Chairman Semple, for any questions from the committee and the public.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the committee, first of all?
Yeah, I had one quick one. Christine, you mentioned 1 to 3, but the map that you sent, when you go into Coldbrook, I don't know where 1 to 3 is. It's 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22.
Okay, yep. So on the air photo, It corresponds, so on the draft plan here, if you can see my cursor, lots 1, 2, and 3 are these combined lots here. And then block 16, 17, 18 are the first lots. And then block 21, 22, 20, and 19 are here. So to correspond that to the air photo, which I think is on page 36. So yeah, so if you can see on here, so that corresponds with what will be civic address lot 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22.
Because I noticed on the first two, they've already got the foundations in, so we're not talking about those, are we?
Yes, those are the ones that we're talking about.
Oh, okay. So they've already got the foundations in.
Yes, that's correct. So a building permit, so what's happening with these lots is, I'm going to go back to page 30. So right now, this is one block, block 16, block 17, 18, 1, 2, and 3. And it's a block that has 18 meters of frontage and approximately 31 meters depth for a total lot area of around 540 square meters. So a building permit can be issued on that block, and the building complies with the block as a whole in terms of meeting the setback requirements. What happens once the building is built and the developer is ready to sell the linked semi-detached dwelling, the developer will go through another Planning Act application called part lot control, which will lay down that center dividing line between the two linked dwellings. So that part lot control application will come at a later date, and it goes to council and is approved through a bylaw. And essentially it's like a bagel. It just slices down the middle and then allows each part to be conveyed so that a homeowner can own their piece of the detached dwelling free and clear from the entire building. So at this point, the permit can be issued. It's when the part lot control happens that the minor variance will then actually take effect, because one half of that lot or block will only have 8 meters, and correspondingly it will only have the 240 square meter lot area.
Oh, okay. So it's a standard procedure.
That's correct. Yeah.
Any other questions from the committee?
Just one quick question, Christina. So is my understanding too that lots 1, 2, and 3 will also be linked dwellings?
That's correct. Yes.
Great.
I have 2 questions. I understand this is within the village of Millbrook, correct?
Correct.
So would these lots all be on town water and sewer then?
That's correct.
All right. And does this owner own other lots, for example, across the street?
Yes. So Valtry and Son Limited owns the entire property, which is easier to see on here. So Valtry and Sons owns whatever is outlined in yellow, and then the proposed subdivision applies to this area here. And so then the minor variance only applies to the area outlined in blue. But currently, yes, all of these lands are owned by the developer.
And they're still vacant.
They're still vacant.
Do they plan to develop those in the near future as well?
Yes, so the entire subdivision is being built. It has received final approval, so the build out can begin on all of the lots. There's a mixture. Not all of the lots are semi-linked, semi-detached dwellings. There will be some single detached dwellings in here as well.
So the ones that are linked on the south side of that road, will they be going through the same process as we're doing right now in the future?
I'm not sure if Michael's available to jump in, but I'm not aware that these ones will require a minor variance if there's any linked on the south side. Again, at part lot control, I think, it was just discovered for the ones on the north side, but if Michael's available and he wants to add anything further, I would open that to him to tackle.
Through you, Chairman Temple, he is. Are you comfortable if I promote him to speak?
Yes, absolutely.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Michael Fry. I'm a land use planner with DG Biddle and Associates, and as Ms. Coulter identified, we are the Beltray and Son is our client, and they are the owner of the entire property. Thank you for the question. I have too many years of zoning experience, and I inadvertently missed this one item on the while writing the zoning bylaw, and this one is totally on me. But we have done an analysis of the remaining lots, the lots on the south side of the future extension of Coldbrook Drive. Thank you. Those lots are they will comply because they do have the depth to allow for the additional a lot area that's required, even with the minimum 8 meters on one half of the lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
None for me.
All right, thank you. Would open it up for any questions from any members of the public who are participating this morning. It appears there are none. Therefore, I would ask for a motion to approve this application.
Yeah, I will motion. To approve the application?
Approve the application.
What do we have? Was it Dave that was it moving, and then Aaron second?
I'll second it. Yeah.
I got there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was almost simultaneous there. All in favor?
Great mind.
All in favor? All right. The application is approved with no conditions. Thank you very much, everyone. That appears to conclude our business this morning. Therefore, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Aaron. We're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. So what will happen is I will put the decisions together and I'll forward them to Cindy, and Cindy will then send them out for your signatures electronically. And then we'll notify everyone there is a 20-day appeal period on each of the applications.